watching this. We always start our meeting with a moment of silence. Can I have a moment of silence for us to collect our thoughts before starting the meeting? Thank you. Okay, that will do. A short moment this time. Before we start anything, I'm going to do the roll call. So when I give out your names, if each of you could say present. Are you ready? Councillor Mark Clark.
Present.
Councillor Rebecca Clark has sent her apologies, so she's not here. Councillor Sean Cullen.
Present.
Councillor Sandra Delamere.
Present.
Councillor Philip Dowd.
Present.
Councillor Alan Fairhead.
Present.
Councillor Matthew Kitcher.
Present.
Councillor Simon Lodge.
Present.
Councillor Stephanie Osborne.
Present.
Councillor Melody Roberts.
Present.
Councillor Alex Wade.
Present.
And myself, Councillor Malcolm Wade, the Chairman, here present. We have apologies from Rebecca, but apart from that, we have a full house. So the next item on the agenda is declarations of interest and dispensations. A, to note any declaration of interest made by members in connection with agenda item, members to specify the nature of interest. B, to receive any written requests for dispensations. And C, to grant requests for dispensations. Have we had any notes of declaration sent in, Tracy?
No.
And no requests for dispensation.
Chairman, if I may, I would like to declare an interest in item number 13, which is the skate park. Because I am the vice chairman of the skate park group, I would like to abstain on the vote tonight because I don't believe that it's fair I should vote on something that I run. Thank you.
Okay. Claire, will you note that interest by Councillor Kitcher on that? Thank you, Rich. Right. The next item on the agenda is... yes, sorry.
I have an RTS because on declarations of interest.
I forgot about that. Yeah, so I'm back in action with RTSing. Yes.
It's just purely to note when we go through the planning minutes, planning application 20-10538, 40 Lodge Drive, was not commented on by the parish council because it was very close to a parish and district councillor's property. So it should be noted that there's no prejudicial interest as we're just going through the minutes, but that one of the applications was very close to a councillor's property. So all of the council should be aware.
Thank you very much. Okay. We now go to item 3, community update. Have we had a community safety update from the police, Tracy?
No.
Well, I am aware that the acting chief inspector for New Forest is on leave today, along with a number of her colleagues. So that the police need their holiday too. So we'll look forward to one, no doubt, next month. Okay. But I can say one thing from the community safety. Tomorrow, the Parish Council is conducting interviews for our ACSO positions. So we are following through with that promise and pledge to the people of Hythe and Dibden. Now, item 4 is the minutes of the meeting held on the 29th of July. I will go through them page by page. If you go to page 5 on your agenda, if you tell me you're all ready, I will go through them now. Page 5. Page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, and page 12. Do you all agree that is a true record? Can I have a proposer and seconder?
I would happily propose minutes, but Councillor Kitcher has an RTS.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going through that. Yes, Councillor Kitcher.
It was just to say, is there any chance I could have a copy emailed to me of the minutes in future? Just because for some reason I can't access ModGov at the moment. I'm really struggling with it.
Yeah, we can do that going forward, Claire, can't we? Yeah,
thank you.
That's no problem. Okay, so you're happy that that's a true record? Take that as a yes.
Proposed, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, I'll now move on to Chairman's announcements. And I have...
You got Councillor Philip Dowd wants to RTS.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Yeah, well done. Councillor Dowd.
I was just going to second, but we've moved past that.
Yeah, sorry. We've had a letter, which I am just finding the copy. It is worth bearing in mind that when one's using one's home office for meetings, it's very interesting to find that we got stuff everywhere. The first chairman's announcement is to pay tribute to the parish council staff who have been forthright and action quick in at least 2 tree issues that we've had, including one today. I cannot pay tribute enough to the excellent work the parish council staff have had in dealing with this issue. The second issue is a letter from a resident in South Street, which is not here. Bear with me one moment, please. It's not here. Right. Well, the letter is in depth about the situation with parking and the New Forest District Council's not really helping out the local residents in finding a parking space. Oh, you haven't got a copy of the letter in detail, Tracy, have you, that you could put on the screen?
Alex Wade as RTS, he may have a copy.
Have you got a copy, Alex?
No, I wanted to respond when the letter is read, please.
Okay, well, one of the faults of having a meeting letter at home and having a day when you're trying to sort out a tree problem is the letter's disappeared. I can only apologise, members, for this. I found it. Hey, right. Free world is safe. Okay, I knew I had it somewhere. Right. Okay, this goes to show it's live TV, isn't it? Really? Right, members. I would like to draw your attention to the implications caused by the development of both selling the council car park for the construction of Lidl's and permission for Churchill's to develop on the old PC Builders site. The residents of South Street are now faced through no fault of their own with having no access to parking facilities when they return to the area. This is causing extreme hardship to the residents who used to have the option to park in the council parking if required, but now face having to leave their cars damaged while parked on a busy road, very fast road, as few cars respect the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, provided that is they are unlucky enough to find a space. In view of the new residential facility which is now being constructed, we currently have a battle with builders for parking, however. This is likely to become much more worse as the new residents begin to move into the 43 flats, which have agreed with only 14 parking spaces. A council has an obligation towards the current residents to improve the environment we live in, rather than hinder us. Since purchasing our properties, several hundred houses have been built. Dominic Close, the Christopher Court, and the development on the Dreamline site, not to mention the new houses to the South Street, Mariners Mews and Spring Road. Land is at a premium and it has been noted that certain areas are underutilised and could become more efficiently used. 1. South Street has a large car parking facility which is mainly used during office hours only. South Street Centre, that is. 2. The Grove has spaces allowed for their use only. Again, this is land that could be used out of office hours for the use and benefit of the local community. 3. The land between South Street Centre and Churchill's development is currently lying vacant and landlocked. The council, with their powers of persuasion, could make a difference to the community by persuading not just the landowner to allow parking, but could persuade the neighbouring properties to allow access to the parking facilities, thus providing residents with a safe place to park. Unless the council takes a serious and imaginative review of the situation, the area of Hythe will soon become untenable, and I would therefore urge the council to rethink the layout on this part of the Hythe as a matter of priority. I trust this issue will be taken into consideration at your next council meeting, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the point. And written by Tracy Portillo on behalf of the residents of South Street. I think this is a very poignant letter, members, and I'm glad I found it. I've raised this in chairman's announcements so we can discuss it. And I've got an RTS from Alex to start with.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I hope you don't mind, but I slightly preempted this, and I have written a letter to NFDC officers earlier in this week. I ensured that the ward councillors were aware of it because it's South Street, and therefore half of South Street falls into Hythe East and the other falls into Hythe West district wards. So Rebecca, Philip and Sandra should be aware of this as well. I've asked for officers to work with councillors to discuss a possible option, and it's not the first time that I've spoken to residents about this, because Mrs Patillo is not the only resident who's raised this issue with local members, and she's completely right to be concerned, because this is a road that when these 43 flats are built with visitors, with tradespeople, with doctors and so forth, there are now there's still 18 parking spaces. And if we can utilise, at least have conversations with the people who look after South Street Trading Building and other areas, there's no guarantees, and it's a very challenging time for the authority. But I have asked to have a meeting with the relevant executive members at NFDC and the relative officers to try and get something started to talk through the problem and see if we can make some headway. It won't necessarily happen immediately, but I think what was said in the letter was completely understandable. It is a very serious issue, and if there's anything we can do to help mitigate this problem in some capacity, then we should do it. But I'm awaiting for a reply from Colin Reid from NFDC. So I hope you don't mind, but I've preempted this and written to NFDC officers already.
No, I think that's a very good action, Alex. I have a lot of sympathy for the residents in there. And my comment while I was looking for the letter, that NFDC really have let the people of South Street down, is absolutely right. They put these developments in without taking into account the parking provision for existing residents. Now, the point she raised about the South Street Centre is a good one, because that car park is empty overnight, as well as the other areas. Could we as a council take up the suggestions that Tracy Portillo's made and write to those organisations on behalf of the residents of South Street and ask if they can be utilised for residential parking during the evening between a set period of time, 8 till 8 or whatever it will be, so it doesn't interfere with the daily use. Is there, I asked Tracy, is there any reason why we can't do that as a council?
No, that sounds fine.
So members, would you be in agreement that we write to the, and including ourselves, because there are spaces that we could be used, and we won't be using them in the evening until we get back to going to the Grove, and that isn't going to be any time shortly, I suspect.
Chairman, just quickly, you have an RTS from Councillor Osborne. Sorry.
Okay, Councillor Osborne, yeah, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I think at the what used to be the South Street block of shops, you know, the shops, the different businesses there all record the number plates of who's staying and how long, and they're not supposed to outstay particularly their appointment time. So it is something that needs to be reassuring to those residents who don't want to find out that they think they can use it. And then, you know, so it's going to be maybe a case of writing to lots of individual businesses there. I'm wondering if they're going to, you know, perhaps get there early in the morning or work late at night and not really want those residents using it. So I'd like to think that they can be looked after somehow. I think it's awful that this has happened. And, you know, if we were all, you know, pretty much aware it would happen when Lidl came, and maybe Lidl could let them park in there.
Well, that's a good idea too. What I would think we should do in response to that is write to the, I think the South Street Centre parking thing, it's a collective thing. It's not really every business doing their own thing. It's a collective thing for that building. So it might be we need to write to the landlord, but we should contact South Street Centre, contact Lidl's, and Lidl's in particular, I think, should show some community spirit, and that would solve it really if they said their car park was open during the night, because that's enough space to take all the cars from South Street. Perhaps we should start by writing to those two, and I know that the parking spaces behind the Grove are used by residents at night. Matthew wants to speak.
I just wanted to back Councillor Osborne's point up. Is the some of the residents' shops did they basically all got together and they now pay a fee so that they take your number plate down, and if you're not registered with them, you now accrue a fine. So I don't know what the fine is or how much it entails, but I just wanted to back Councillor Osborne up, really.
Yeah, no. Well, what we have to do we want to use them when the businesses aren't using them. But if we fight to Lidl's, Lidl's are going to say they're not insured, which could be a potential problem. But let's write to Lidl's to see if their community spirit can be brought into play, and let's also write to the South Street Centre as well. And we can on behalf of Tracy Portillo and the other residents of South Street, I think we should do that. And also we should back up Alex's point, because NFDC have created this problem. They should really own some part of the solution. And do you need a letter from the parish council to back up what you're doing, Alex?
I think any letter of support from the parish would be welcome. As I say, the planning issue is, for me, it's the previous council accepted that this went through the district council, and if we can get officers to work with us, as I say, that will be a positive. As I say, St John's being sold has contributed to the issue. In this particular case, it might be an empty car park and sold on that proviso, but for the residents of South Street and St John Street and all the roads off it, that was the safest place for them to park near homes and visitors. And it was off the road in a very small access road that clearly was built before all the developments that we have. And this is not criticisms of Lidl, and obviously Lidl don't have to support us, and there might be rules and regulations and concerns over antisocial behaviour that they may have, and they are perfectly valid. But I think covering all bases and at least making efforts to try and find some off-road spaces, which would also create safer for pedestrians and cyclists, would be a positive. But we must at least try and work together, and we must be in the most positive and transparent manner possible. Okay
then, right, members, so we're going to write to Lidl's, write to the South Street Centre and see if they can be used for parking. And if Alex wants to engage with the clerk, what you would need is a letter of support. We can write supporting you with NFDC. Are you all happy that we do that? Do you want to show thumb? Okay. Okay. I've got one more chairman's announcement, not quite as controversial as that one. From the 1st of September, the parish hall will be open for bookings. However, there will be a strict COVID-19 protection criteria required, including hirers producing their own risk assessment and following a set of rules which the parish council will provide. And the parish council will also provide help with the risk assessment if it is need be. That's from the 1st of September. Okay, members. Now we move on to reports by the counting district members. That will be start off with me. Okay. Have we had a report from Councillor McAley?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Well, I've got a very short one, actually, members. Harris, August is usually a quiet time for county councils. However, I attended a Who's Got Talent variety session for looked after children. I was suitably impressed by all the competitors, ranged from under 10 to 18, 19 years of age. They performed in age groups, and the overall winner was a brilliant performed visual spectacle by a young man who's got real talent. I've been in regular communication with the police over community safety issues in Hythe and Dibden, in addition to dealing with a large range of highway issues, including meeting the cycling group with Councillor Osborne over concerns of cyclists in the modifications to the A326 roundabouts to cater for the new development at Fawley. I was due to attend the Hampshire County Council August strategic planning meeting to speak against the request for planning permission to move more plant into Hythe Quarry, but it has been postponed to the September meeting when I will endeavour to speak against it then. And on the broader front, Children's Services continues to do a great job looking after young people who need help and care. However, demand as projected will go up as society moves from lockdown to reduction in the COVID restrictions. It is vital the government in their forthcoming spending review recognise the importance of appropriate funding for local government and the ongoing high cost of social care for young and the elderly. That is that. Now I will go give someone else a chance to talk. Call on Councillor Dowd to give your report, please, NFDC.
Thank you, Chairman. On the 5th of August, I attended the Cabinet brief meeting. It's an opportunity to see what the Conservative group presents as the priorities of the moment. As the main opposition group, our detailed questioning is done in a briefing a few days before with officers. This is more of a showcase, and it contains a document called A Vision for the Waterside. Concerns about the lack of consultation and the narrow focus have been voiced in the earlier briefing. 7th of August, attended Local Economy Task and Finish Group. I'm not a member of the group, but this contains useful information about what's going on elsewhere in the district and contained a presentation of the New Forest Business Partnership shared by Matthew Lawson. They represent about 500 of the 8,000 small businesses in the district, with up to 2,000 calling for advice over the lockdown period. 12th of August, planning consideration of the A326. Our focus has been on balancing the needs of disparate groups, ensuring that we get the right decision for residents, cyclists, walkers and commuters, as well as creating opportunities for new housing and jobs. 13th of August, environment overview and scrutiny panel. Though not a member of this group, keeping a close eye on the impact to the waterside. 19th of August, made representations to the Electoral Review Task and Finish group. This is more technical. We agree with the overall reduction in councillor numbers, but are keen to have the most appropriate representation for our area. 24th of August, attended the Waste Strategy Working Group meeting. Casework included antisocial behaviour issues in local amenities and a neighbour dispute. New contact information for district officers has been found to be inaccurate, but I'm still awaiting an update on that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Osborne.
Yes, well, actually, obviously, I've got a thank you letter for the meeting, which we did actually spend a great deal of time on the A326 the other day in the blustery wind and rain. I think we were there, what, 2 hours walking up and down the A326 with the cyclists. So they've sent us a letter from the WCAG to say thank you to you and Councillor Wade for making time to meet us yesterday and consider our concerns and provide invaluable support to our efforts to secure a safer environment for cyclists, pedestrians and equestrians when crossing the A326. So that's from the, the leading committee members that we met on the crossing there. I'm just going to say I can see that the application for the DP Music and Drink Festival or event in the Merrymead Square is happening again this weekend. So we all know that they have put in planning permission for that from, I think it's Little Calf. People seem to really enjoy that last time. I did receive only yesterday complaints from the shops in Dibden Parish saying they're fed up with all the leaves falling off the trees outside their shops and blowing in the door. And also,
trees are like that.
I know. I thought, oh, he's going to complain about maybe something else. But also mentioned the parking was not quite right for the shops outside there, which I think I've heard that before. So I need to look into that short-term parking. Casework Oak Road, I've just received while we were actually on the meeting from the residents that were complaining, and they're saying that since the police visit to Haynes Way, that the people that were antisocial behaviour was going on in the Oak Road car park seem to have calmed right down, and although they're still there, they're not actually so disrespectful. So just get to that letter just a minute. What they're saying.
It's improved.
You just say, in my opinion, it's definitely quietened down a fair bit. I've noticed the same people meeting in the car park, that they're being much more mindful. And then mention of, still talking about whether barriers and gates are right. And obviously the district council have also been in touch with us recently, saying they've been to visit and thought things looked a lot better. So I think that's probably it. We've obviously got the hospital things, Hythe Hospital progress going on. I'm going to go up and have a look at the materials tomorrow that they want us to inspect. What else have I got? I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Clark.
Well, originally I had nothing to report, but there was a couple of items did come up. One particularly is that we finally received some reasonably opaque answers to a series of questions we asked the Task and Finish group, which is considering the outsourcing of the 5 leisure centres. So Applemore is clearly the one that involves us a little more here. But the answers don't really give us much hope, particularly for a conclusive outcome to this, mostly because the numbers really on which the bids may be predicated are simply seem to us to be drawn out of thin air. So, for example, if a second wave of COVID came back in the autumn, then clearly the numbers upon which they base the income numbers for the leisure centres are going to be out the window. So we are very cautious about accepting that, and we're going to approach the council a little more, the officers, to try and get some better answers to some of the questions, particularly regarding due diligence of the any proposed bidders, because they themselves will have suffered through the lockdown and may not have such a solid financial base. So it's those kind of questions we're asking. Secondly, the Task and Finish group I also attended related to the reopening of the leisure centres gradually, and that was just merely a progress report. And finally, as you yourself, Mr. Chairman, are aware, the issue of plant moving onto the site of the 45 homes on Forest Lodge, which is next to the Forest Lodge farm. There are 2 issues here. One is, of course, the monitoring by the district council of that particular piece of work that needs to be done to get those homes open. But secondly, the implementation of the groundwater scheme, to the SUD scheme, to take the water away correctly as per the permission that was granted or is predicated on that permission. So 2 issues, Mr. Chairman, that are ongoing, as well you know, particularly related to the farm behind and John Penny, who owns that land, and the threat to his own land, given that water is now coming up through his workshop.
Yeah. In answer to that, I have been in touch with the planning committee, who are going to the planning authority, who are going to monitor and check that work is done as it is proposed. Okay, thank you. Alex.
Thank you, Chairman. As you said, August is normally a quieter month for meetings in what would be a normal year. But while this year is anything but, it's still being a relatively quieter month for myself for meetings. However, casework has been constant with quite a variety of issues with local residents over housing, traffic, parking, antisocial behaviour, planning and more. I'd like to pay tribute to parish, district, county officers and my fellow councillors, including local, county and district councillors, who continue to be very supportive for some collective work on casework, and also to the Handy Trust who've been very supportive and worked with myself when issues were raised about some younger residents. And it was an opportunity for the Handy Trust bus to go and talk to them and explain the issues. And since then, as I say, it's been quite good response, because at the end of the day, they are perfectly entitled to have somewhere to spend time. But it's about understanding the impact and sort of being respectful of the times of which that was done. I think it's a much better way of dealing with those situations, and I pay credit to the Handy Trust and their work for that. The electoral review, Hythe Dibden councillors are working with officers at NFDC to present a proposal on 3 2-member wards to counter the Boundary Commission's proposal for 2 3-member wards. The Boundary Commission have presented district-wide proposals to reduce the councillors, as we all know, to 48, and this work remains ongoing. But I do hope, as I said, that they give due consideration to our proposals. Waterside Vision. The New Forest District Council have released a document, as Philip said, the vision for the waterside. It's an overview of plans with local stakeholders, such as major business and the county council, to bring funding to the area. The document was discussed at the Environment Overview and Scrutiny panel, and while I was unable to attend, I sent my comments for the panel to hear. I advise that while in broad support of any funding and improvement to the local economy, environment and lives of those living in the waterside, however, I raise concerns that any vision should not allow major development decisions to be pre-decided, such as on Dibden Bay, and that the vision must be for the benefit of the residents and communities of the waterside first, and not just the private businesses keen to see the support for their plans. Jobs are needed, absolutely, and local major employees have provided much benefit to our area. The vision needs to present plenty of opportunities for our residents to develop and use their skills in a variety of industries, rather than just those on the working group behind this vision. I do welcome any funding for improvement in local transport infrastructure and the environment, but this has to be focused on sustainable public transport, safer cycling, pedestrian access, and any improvements to the A326 must be significant to take on the thousands of extra cars to join the already busy access road over the next few years. My fellow opposition councillors share my views, and we will continue to work with NFDC and represent the waterside community on a positive vision for our residents. Cleaning up the community, the New Forest District Council is running a campaign to ensure people clean up any litter in public coastal open spaces such as Calshot, Barton on Sea and Milford on Sea, with the Lookout Litterbug posters with Crabby the Crab. There are free bin bags available at all these sites so residents can help do their bit, and there's a really good social media campaign pushing the message too. And while we'll discuss this more, I'm sure next month, the Cabinet will meet, and I'm sure will be discussed at full council at the beginning of next month, where there are discussions on the emergency budget that NFDC is updating and their medium-term financial plan in response to COVID. They'll also be discussing the electoral review, the vision for the waterside, and changes to the current planning system proposed by the government, which do have some recommendations that I think quite a lot of local residents, irrelevant of their political viewpoints, have concerns with, and I think we should take heed and look at that quite seriously. Sorry for going on a bit there, Chair.
Thank you. Well, members, it doesn't leave me a lot to say because August is usually a quiet month, but you've been always so busy. This is the most active, busy group of councillors I think I've ever worked with. But I'll briefly add a couple of points to that. For my NFDC report, it's been very busy for New Forest District Council. On the 30th of September, in the Finance, Resource and Task and Finish group, I'm glad to see they were following my suggestion of reviewing their assets to see if they could liquefy some to improve the financial position. However, I don't hold much hope they probably will. In the Cabinet briefing, we discussed, amongst other things, the vision that a number of members have already mentioned. Now, I'm all for government funding for our area, but as I said in the Environment Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which also looked at this on the 14th of August, it would have been a stronger bid if it had come from the community as well as just local government officers and business. All rounded, stronger, talking about there, and it didn't. It was just that. Our role is to protect the environment for existing residents, not just future developments. And I think that's a very important very important point that we should hold hard to. I also attended a planning on the 12th of August, but there were no applications for our community. 24th, we had the Waste Task and Finish group where we discussed the draft waste strategy. There will be significant to both the way we collect waste and the recycling, but also the way we dispose of it, significant changes. While a bespoke solutions to collector storage models in some of the unusual areas of our district will prevail, all residents will see a dramatic change in how NFDC deals with their waste going forward. And finally, yesterday, as was mentioned, we reviewed the district council boundaries in an effort to have 3 2-member wards instead of 2 3-member wards as a better outcome for our local people. The outcome is still unclear. The council officers will produce figures to balance out these 2 options, and we plan to produce a case for doing it the way local members and local people will be best served. And we wait to see what NFDC responds to that. Right, members, thank you very much for that. It's now item 7, reports from members serving in outside bodies. Do we have any?
Councillor Wade,
Yes.
Councillor Delamere.
Oh, sorry, my apologies, Councillor Delamere. You were hidden behind the Zoom chat, Mark. So 1,000 apologies. It's not been my night tonight, really, has it? It's your over to you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
What's so? That's okay, Chairman. Yeah, actually, I haven't got an awful lot to report because although I've attended several meetings, everybody else has covered what I'm much more eloquently than what I would have said. So I attended about the vision for the water side and what's the other one? Sorry, but yeah, it's been covered. Thank you, Chairman.
My apologies for that. I have moved the Zoom chat part square now, so your vision is clear and transparent. Okay, okay. Right. Reports from members on serving on outside bodies. Is there one? No. Excellent. Okay. We move to item 8, public forum.
Chairman, I'd RTS you.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I'm really not doing well today.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Go on, Alan.
Briefly, Chairman, the Hythe Heritage Association have emailed back to Councillor Simon Lodge and myself to send us the dates of the forthcoming meetings, board meetings. The new chairman, for those who don't know, is Anthony Smith. As the previous chairman, Peter King, has now resigned from the board as he is no longer living in the area. I would personally like to pay tribute to him on record for what he has started, and hopefully with Simon and myself on the board we can help to make things move forward. But I have met Anthony Smith. I don't think Simon has yet, but we've been notified that we've been welcomed onto the board. That was all, Chairman.
Members, is it your wish that we write to Mr. King and thank him for his efforts on behalf of the Heritage Association?
I think it'd be a good idea, Chairman.
Yeah, can we do that, please, Tracy? Okay. Now we move on to item 8, public forum. Do we have any questions?
You have an RTS from
public?
Steph Osborne, Mr. Chairman.
Oh dear, thank you for that. Thank you. I moved it out of the way.
To bug you like I did Philip, the RTSs.
That's all right.
I've attended, you know, obviously by email and online things with the hospital, hospital development. That's all going forward as well as it can be. And also, I've attended the Dibden Allotments charity Zoom meetings, which are all very interesting and supporting the local community. I don't know if we've already announced that the new chairman was voted on or not. I can't remember. It's Alan Alvey and the vice chairman is Jill Tomlins. Yeah, so I'm, you know, finding that very rewarding outside body. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Does anybody else want to do it before I move on? Okay. Item 8, public forum. Do we have any questions from members of the public? Officers?
Sorry, I haven't received any.
Okay, okay. We move to item 8, questions to councillors from other councillors. It's understanding order 24 and 25 or something, I think what it used to be. Okay, the floor is yours, members. Matthew Kitcher is first.
Chairman, my question is to you. So I'd like to make you aware that recently I've received some emails regarding our play parks, and that residents would like to get some disabled adapted equipment into some of our play parks. So my question is can we get a meeting of the play park equipment group at some point, please?
Well, I think that's an excellent idea. Tracy, can we arrange that? And I think the request for play equipment for disabled young people is a good one. Can we set that committee up to look at that, please? Yeah. Okay with that, Matt?
Yes, thank you.
Chairman,
Alex?
You missed me.
Alan, sorry, I thought there's a lot around. Yeah, Alan next.
Sorry, Chairman, are you aware there's been a lot of comment again, which I've raised before, about the grass verges along footpaths, overgrowing footpaths, making them very narrow. I know a lot of the grass is not ours, but where it is ours, I think we ought to be cutting it back so that the footpath is the right width, and where it doesn't belong to us, where it's New Forest or Hampshire District, or we should be getting them to cut it back as well so that footpaths are the right width. It's very difficult for disabled people, young mothers with pushchairs, etc., to get down narrow footpaths, and also to notify residents of overhanging trees and bushes and other foliage which makes the footpath narrower from that side of the path. To bring to your attention that I've had several people raise it with me, and I think we ought to do something about it.
Okay, members, if it's a Hampshire County Council highway issue, you've got to report it on the website, right? And if it's reported on the website and you get a contact number, an issue number, sorry, and you don't see any action within a few weeks, come to me and I will chase it up as the county councillor. As regards for NFDC land, we would probably, we can contact NFDC direct. It's going to be operational. It'll be Steve Jones, and ask him to get somebody to cut it back. If it's parish council, we made a note of that and email Sean or Marcus to get our guys to cut it back. Do you any to add to that, Tracy?
No, that's fine. That sounds fine.
Okay, is everybody clear of that? Now I've got to Alex, then Sandra, then Matt again.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is to you as Chairman of the Parish Council. Two very quick ones. The first one is it worth us writing to NFDC to clarify what, if any, SIL money there is from recent developments that we could use towards any play equipment supporting Councillor Kitch's brilliant request to support people who require adapted facilities. I think it's worth at least asking that question to support any funding requirements that we have. And secondly, on a completely different tact, could we clarify which outside bodies that we all sit on have not met for this calendar year, and just clarify that they are aware that there are council representatives, and if there's any upcoming meetings that they would like councillors to attend. Thank you.
Okay, let me start with the SIL money one, and welcome Sean to the discussion. Are you aware of any SIL money in the pipeline, Sean?
We have some SIL money, but I can't give you the exact figure at the moment.
Would that be available for use on play equipment for disabled children?
Yes, normally it would.
Okay, then there is SIL money available would deal with that Councillor Kitch's request. So if we really need, that needs to go to that subcommittee, then we can go. Tracy wants to speak. Do you want to talk about something we're on about now?
Yeah, because I did a report recently on the SIL money. So in a moment, I'll look on our website. We should have a SIL report on our website because it's part of our Transparency Act, and it'll tell you what SIL funding we've got.
Okay.
So I'll have a look while you're talking.
Second point Alex raised was about outside bodies. Is it possible for us to do a generic letter to the outside bodies on the points that he made to let them know that they do actually have councillors on there, and they should be advised if the thing is going to meet?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sandra's next, then Matt, and then that's it. Sandra, then Matt.
Sorry, Chairman, took me a while to unmute.
That's all right.
It's actually for Councillor Osborne. It's about the Oak Road car park and the markings for the parking spaces. And I went up there with my son a few days ago, and when we came back, somebody parked behind us, so we were actually blocked in because they were parking in actually what was the driveway bit rather than the parking bit. And I noticed as I drew in, and apparently that happened a few days previous to my son. He parked up there and got blocked in. As it was, he was able to wiggle his way out. But it struck me when we pulled up that the markings are such that you do a sort of double take, because they just sort of mark off the corners for where the cars are to park. and it's not very clear which is the actual driveway bit and which is the parking bit. I just wondered, Steph, have you had any people reporting similar problems?
First I've heard of it, and I mean the amount of room we've got in there, that sounds ludicrous.
Well, quite. It was quite ludicrous.
Can't believe it. I mean, obviously there's a lot of workers parking there, and then residents, obviously 'cause it's so narrow here, a lot of residents do use it. So it's well used in and out, and I can't believe that someone would do that. But if so that's twice it's happened, as far as you know, is it? Oh, funny.
Twice happened in the course of a few days. I mean, he does use that car park fairly frequently. It's the first time he'd noticed it. I mean, it might just have been tough luck, but
Yeah, is it by the Salvation Army bin? Is that what you mean?
no, it was right in the middle, and he parked behind another car. And when we came back, there was yet another car parked in behind us. So he was sandwiched between two cars to wiggle out. Fortunately, there was nobody parked either side, so we were able to get out. But
what we ought to do, because that car park
weird.
isn't managed by anybody, is if you want, drop a line to the church so they can let users know, I suppose.
I did hear from the member of the church that's responsible for the car park today, and I actually in my reply said Councillor Wade and I would like a meeting with him and the vicar quite soon, but you're a little bit overrun at the moment. We'll try and get in touch as soon as I think the summer's over, and we'll go and meet them, because I think
Okay, we'll ask them to put a sign up or something.
A bit of confusion as to who pays what there, Malcolm. Thank you.
Okay, all right, we'll do that.
you.
We'll go and speak to the church. Matthew is next.
Another question for yourself, Chairman. I'm sure you've got many tonight. It was just a thing. I think Councillor Osborne has raised this before, but on Langdown Hill, there is a particular bus stop that is blocked by some bushes, and you can't see oncoming buses. So you have to. So if it's raining, you have to completely stand out to be able to see oncoming traffic or anything. Is there a way of finding out if that is the residents' bushes, or if that is anything to do with the parish or anything, just so I can get them trimmed back is all.
Which bus stop is it again? Sorry.
So it's Langdown Hill. It's as you go. Is that
opposite that little housing that's close?
Yes.
Coates Way.
Coates Way. Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? Sean, can we have a look at that and see who's? You're muted. You're muted.
Apologies, Chairman. I'll sort my papers out. Yeah, Matthew, can you please send me an email with the details, and I can ping it across to Lee, and we can get it done as soon as possible.
Perfect. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you very much. Tracy has let us know. Do you want to take us through the figures, Tracy? About seal money.
Yeah, so I had a report, and the 29,000 is the amount that you've received in this financial year, and the 13,000 is the money that you received in the previous year. I don't know if you spent any of your seal funding from that 13,000. So I'd have to check with Beverly, but I don't think that Sean might be able to tell you, but I don't think you've actually spent any of your seal funding.
Yeah, I'd have to check.
No. Yeah, we have to check, but I'm sure we've got amongst that enough to look at this pre-equipment. So we need to set that committee up to deal with this.
Yeah,
Councillor Clark.
It was just really, Mr. Chairman, I can't remember whether it was you or Philip that was talking about the waste strategy. And I noticed in the previous year's league table that the district council was still very poor performer at 286th in the country, and it was 32.9% of household recycling was achieved against some very high numbers further in other authorities. I just wonder whether you were aware, or whether we could get the breakdown for that recycling rate locally to Hythe Dibden at all, and or what is that the driver for the new strategy to try and improve their rates?
In answer to your question, and then Philip might want to contribute to this, the regulations regarding waste are going to change in 2023, and that is one of the big driver for the change. The poor recycling is another driver, because At 286 out is outlets up 312. We're in the worst percentile for recycling in the country. As regards Hythe and Dibden's recycling, I'm not sure whether that is available. What we could do is write to Chris Noble as a parish council and ask him that question. Can they supply that data for us? It would be interesting if they could. I'm not sure whether they have it down to parish, but we can certainly ask the question. I don't know whether you want to add anything, Philip, as Vice Chair of the Waste Committee.
Yes, I will. I mean, I'm not going to gloss over the fact that the New Forest is a poor performer in terms of waste collection. What I would say, though, is that there is no consistency in data. So even though, for example, a lot of Welsh authorities look as if they achieve a better result, actually you can't necessarily compare directly one authority with another. There will be national guidelines. They've been delayed because of COVID. And I think once we've got national guidelines in place, then I think we'll have a better base to be able to judge individual authorities on. We also have to think about the fact it's not just collection, it's also about education and in making sure that people reduce, not just recycle. And deal with that, and that's something I've been pushing the officers very hard on, because I've been getting a lot of data from our European neighbours and what they do there, and I think there's a lot we can be doing there as well, not just collecting the stuff. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just add something to that, to the letter particularly? I mean, the tables show us that per person per head in the New Forest, we have 318 kilograms of waste per person per year. So therefore, with the lockdown and most people now still remaining somewhere at home, clearly waste is piling up locally rather than being distributed or thrown away elsewhere perhaps, and I just wonder whether we can add to that and find out what level of waste we are currently dealing with, given that it's not being transported out and thrown away out of the area.
There are statistics for the increase in waste during the COVID period, and we've certainly been reviewing that. I'm not sure about your point about the fact that that waste isn't being collected. I think there's certainly been an increase in black bags, and there's been an increase in certain other waste. I think the green waste collection has they've had a massive increase in that as well. But as I say, once we've got the national guidelines, which will say what needs to be collected and that, then I think we'll have a better base. Because of course we're very much unfortunately, with the county council as being the authority that decides what the various collections can consist of, we're very much in a kind of negotiation position with them. So I think national guidelines is the way forward there, really.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, but for that information, we can write to Chris Noble at NFDC, the waste manager, and see what information you can get if you've got it down to Hythe.
Could we action that, Mr. Chairman, then, in that case?
Can we do that, please, Tracy?
Yeah.
Thank you. I do think there will be a dramatic change, though, in the waste collection and the disposal by the county council when it comes. Philip, I had an RTS from you. Is that something else you want to raise?
No, I've covered it. Thank you.
Okay. Stephanie, RTS.
Yeah, can I just ask, I don't know if you're allowed to
I've
answer,
got you, Alex.
Is the refuse collection going to be reduced from weekly? Is that something we're allowed to know?
I'm afraid it's still in discussion stage at the moment, so there's a limit to what we can actually say about the process here. But I think one of the drivers, as I say, is this national one, and there are certainly within the national documentation there is a change to collecting food waste, which is something that we haven't done hitherto. Yeah, so it's okay.
What I'd like to say is, obviously, I requested that we did remove this booking system for the tip through the county.
That's with the county council, and currently, while we're in a COVID pandemic, they're not going to change it.
Yes, that's a different thing entirely, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I also spoke to the cabinet member about the bins and things like that were piling up and people starting to dump things around it. So I just wanted to say it's pretty difficult to have good statistics for this area. While we've been on the lockdown, I wonder if more people have been reading the same as me, that hardly anything is actually recyclable. If you actually read and study it, there isn't a lot to put in the actual recycle bin. So no wonder we're not really that good at recycling. And people, where they can't actually go to the tip, perhaps would like those facilities that are like at Tesco more accessible, you know, where you stop and you can actually recycle your various tins it used to be, and plastic and glass and everything else themselves. So I just feel that, you know, we're going 2 steps back and 1 step forward, and then making it sound as though we're bad at recycling here, which I don't think we've got the opportunity to be good.
This is not something we're going straying from the question. I'm going to give a generic answer to this, right? We are bad at recycling because of the way we collect waste. You are right that not all waste that is recyclable can be recycled, because the Viola contract, for example, doesn't include yogurt pots. Yogurt pots are recyclable, but the Viola contract doesn't. But the reason that our recycling is bad is partly because NFDC seriously lost their eye off the ball. The methods that we use to collect waste is another reason, and there will be significant changes. One thing I can say, the NFDC waste refuse operators has done a sterling job. Bless them, you know, they have. Yeah, they have been picking up the waste, and that you give credit where credit's due to the guys on the front line. But the district council has been found wanting, and they've now got to play catch up. And educating people to what we should and shouldn't waste. We spend less on educating people than nearly every other council in the country.
That is what I wanted to say. The education of
that's what's got to change.
Of everything else.
Anyway,
that's what we need to step up on.
My apologies for this, Alex. Thank you, Tracy. I didn't realise you had an RTS. Over to you.
Yes. And on the previous point, the recycling points were also cut by the New Forest Conservative group last time out. My question is generally to officers: have we had any feedback, positive or otherwise, since the parks have been opened? And from my personal perspective, it was great to go into Jones Lane Recreation Ground, where everyone was sticking to social distancing very well, and my 3.5-year-old was very pleased to be back in there.
Have you had any feedback, Tracy, Sean?
No.
Fine.
Okay. Well, no news is good news, and I'm sure they'll be telling us if they weren't happy.
Agreed.
Councillor Mark Clark, do you really want to ask that question? Because we're not in a position to answer it. No, all right. Okay.
No,
now,
Mr. Chairman, just humour. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Right. Now, for no more questions, we'll now go to item 10, which is the Planning Committee. I ask Alex to receive the delegated decisions of the Planning Committee. If you'd like to present them, Alex, on pages 13 to 18.
Again, thank you very much for councillors and officers for their incredible support, again, with getting all the planning information in virtually, again, for me to present the views of the Planning Authority on behalf of the community and residents to an NFDC as part of our annual monthly consultation. It was an incredibly busy month, lots of applications and 3 separate consultations. So thank you ever so much to councillors and their officers for their support. I'm presenting the minutes from pages 13 to 18. Please note that there is one planning application that I chose to declare an interest on behalf of the whole council, which was, as previously mentioned, 20-10538, which was 40 Lodge Drive. So going from page to page, if you have any issues, please let me know. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. And a blank page 18. Are you all happy for me to propose that these were the comments agreed by the planning committee to go forward to NFDC as our consultative comments?
Everybody happy with that?
Are you happy?
Good.
Thank you. And therefore I propose them to the committee, and thank you.
Okay. We now go to item 11, Haynes Way, to receive the report of the maintenance facility supervisor. Are you going to take us through that, Sean? Please.
He seems to have disappeared for the moment.
Right. Okay. Well, this is one of the interesting things about having virtual meetings like this. Well, we'll come back to item 11 when Sean's back. We'll go to item 12 to receive the report of the locum clerk. Tracy, this is over to you.
I haven't anything to report actually. Was it on about the
That's what it says on the agenda item. Well, you sent us the letter from Mandy Ware about community speed watch.
Yeah, about the speed watch. You're going to put that forward. That was an agenda item that you asked, didn't you, about 21 hours speeding?
Okay. Well, we've discussed many times community speed watch in this council, and all the time, every time, we have been concerned about the way it affects communities. It can be quite divisive, and we're not favoured it. And I think we spoke recently about it. The police have a very limited enforcement, but when you send issues to me, I forward it on to Acting Chief Inspector Andrews, and quite rightly she says, but they haven't got. No, this is not going to be a priority for them because they have roads where there have been casualties and they have to look at it first. I've got an RTS from Alex. Over to you.
No, it was merely to comment on the issue once you've done your introduction, Chairman.
Okay, well, over to you then. Comment away, please.
So reading through the information that's provided, first and foremostly, I find Community Speed Watch works better for smaller villages and hamlets where often the people who are speeding are not residents of that community. So somewhere like Bewley or Minstead, you will often find people driving through it and driving far too fast and dangerously. And there is a justification and complete understanding to try and provide some way of adapting the behaviour. My concern is residents doing it to other residents in our community. And I have to be honest, last time we had this discussion, I was on the other side of the viewpoint, and I've come to sort of a different decision on this. And I remember Councillor Malcolm Wade disagreed with me on this originally, as did other councillors. I'm not comfortable with Community Speed Watch being the answer to this. I do think, however, temporary speed signs and SLRs and SIDs on areas that we as councillors know, and I'm going to tell you one now, Sizer Way in Dibden, for example, Shaw Road, ones where due to the very positive news that there have been no reported casualties, that they're not prioritised. But we as local councillors and residents, we know that people do speed, and there are possible near misses or examples of really poor driving that we need to challenge. And I completely support the idea of, if financially viable, putting some SLRs and SIDs in these key points, as suggested, short gaps of a couple of weeks over whatever period of time that we agree. And we may not make the decision today, but I really want us to open up discussions with insurance, with the county council, and take some step forward on doing something to show the residents we're listening, and to try and encourage better behaviour with those minority who speed in our community and go over 20, over 30, over 40 when they shouldn't. And I don't like the idea of, oh, there hasn't been a casualty yet, because it could just be that we've come very close to one, and I don't want to wait for something really tragic to happen not to try and do something to try and mitigate this. It's not the perfect answer, but it's at least an attempt to try and share with people, actually, you're going 50 in a 40 and so forth, for example, and help people adapt their behaviour. But that's all I have to say on the matter.
Thank you. Mark Clark is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was just I read the policy document about the SIDs and SLRs and very much welcome it if we can make a budget provision perhaps beginning next year. For example, the area I represent in Rosebery Avenue is constantly being asked to slow down things, in Frost Lane around in those areas, so where people speed. So having the facility within the parish council to remove and move these things around, I think is ideal and should be very much welcomed, because we know the hotspots. We all as councillors know the hotspots because we're getting the calls and the emails about them. So I think for us it should be a priority, certainly beginning next year when making a budget provision with it.
Okay, Alan?
Chairman, I wonder, picking up on what Councillor Alex Wade said, other areas, Marchwood, Totton, must have speeding problems in the same way that we do. Would it not be possible to link up with their councils so that their speed watch people come and do us and we do them, so it's not resident on resident locally?
That's an interesting concept. I'm not sure that they have speed watch in any of the other councils.
Well, I just quote those places, but I mean, could be anywhere. We must know of other places where they've got speeding problems. Well, we could find out.
One of the problems with this is that we're asking civilians, non-police people, to perform something that is not quite as straightforward as just pointing something at a car, although people seem to think it is. And I'm a firm believer in let professionals do a professional job. We could look to get our own SID. It's expensive, as Mark suggested, and that is a possibility we can look at when we do the next budget. We have a very good relationship with the NFDC guy, and we do get our areas SIDed, if you pardon the expression, when we request. I'm going to bring in Melody, then I'll ask Sean for any input he wants to say there, because Sean usually arranges the SIDs with NFDC. Melody.
Thank you, Chairman. As you know, I have requested a speeding camera or something in Aveling Road. They whiz up from New Road, straight across the road, up Aveling Road. Huge HGVs, buses, delivery trucks, and they're nowhere near 20 miles an hour, more like 40. So there's children now living opposite, and one of these days there's going to be a tragedy. So we need something like a weight limit or a speed limit.
But HGVs shouldn't be going down Atheling Road.
I know, but they do. We need a weight limit because the house shakes when they go by.
You know what I mean? Okay, well, the problem with the 20-mile limit, not the problem, it's there's no one to enforce it.
No.
And one of the rules to put it in 20-mile an hour, they only put them in where they think traffic will travel at that in the first place. Now, a number of you have reported, Councillor Lodge has, Councillor Alex Wade have, you have, speeding issues, and I have passed them on to the police, who are the main arbitrators for dealing with this. Sean, do you want to add anything about getting SIDs done by NFDC? Because we usually get them eventually, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Apologies, members. I'm dealing with a tree issue, which has taken me away for phone calls and things, so apologies.
That's
yeah,
all right.
SIDs, we've got quite a good relationship with the district councils in terms of SIDs. If members do have a request, what I do, I get the details from you or members of the public, forward it to the appropriate officer at the district. They will then do an assessment to see if there's any recorded accidents or any other issues raised on that road. And then that forms a picture. If there's a need, then they will deploy a SID in the round of SIDs when they're deployed to Hythe. And they're only deployed for a few weeks in the year, but these SIDs go all the way around the district. So we take our turn, but they do listen to us. When we put forward proposals as a council, they do listen. If it gets through the assessment where they see there is a need, then they will deploy and we will get updated. If the SID displays that there is an issue with speeding, then the police are informed and then they'll carry out, where possible, patrols and deterrence.
Okay. So when we look at the budget for next year, we can discuss any suggestions about purchasing our own speed indicator. But the thing with the speed indicators, they do slow traffic down when they're there. But I've yet, and the police are so short of staff. I've never actually, it's not often we get the enforcement when there is one. One of the other interesting points is when people see a road that is speeding, they think the traffic's fast. Once you get the data, it doesn't actually show that. The perception of speeding and actual speeding sometimes is different. It depends on road conditions. However, I think some of the roads that members have quoted to me, I think really are areas where there has been speeding and inappropriate, particularly Atheling Road. It's clearly they're not going at 20 miles an hour. Southampton Road, as was mentioned to me the other day, people speed like it's a nice straight bit, and Size Away again, it's a nice straight bit where people put their foot down. So we need to look at that. Alex, do you want to have a final word on this before we move on?
Just to do a proposal that the council reviews the options of adding a parish council facilitated SID for the community within the next budget, and has conversations with county council about how to do it operationally, and investigations are made so it can be brought with a fully funded proposal to the council to make a decision at the adequate time.
And one other thing, when we get our ACSO service up and running, although they shouldn't be doing this on a regular basis because there's more important things, it is possible if there's antisocial speeding, when they have the appropriate training, that they could do something and pass it on to the police. Just as a thought, throw out there. Right, okay, are we all happy with that, members? We look at that in the next budget session?
I need a seconder for my proposal.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
It's been seconded by both Melody and Matthew. Do we all agree? Can I have a verbal agreement from that? Actually, as it's about budget, I'll need to go through the list. Right, starting from left to right. Do you agree for that request, Melody?
Yes, I do.
Support. Philip, do you agree?
In principle, but I think it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Okay, but do you agree that we look at it in the budget process?
To look at it, yes.
Okay. Alan, do you agree?
Agree.
Simon?
I agree.
Stephanie?
Sorry, yes, I put a thumbs up. Yes, that's okay.
Okay. Mark?
Yeah, I
Alex,
agree.
You said it. Agree. You agree. Sandra?
I agree.
Matthew?
Agreed.
Sean?
Agreed, Chairman.
Okay, right. Well, let's do that now, members. We're going to go now that Sean Deputy Clerk is back. We're going to go back to item 11, which is Haynes Way. Sean, do you want to present the report to Haynes Way, which came on a separate cover?
Yeah, of course. Hopefully, members all received it as it did come after the agenda. Mark, this is a result of antisocial behaviour issues that were identified by residents in Haynes Way. There were issues. The residents were distressed, and in the end, the police put a 48-hour dispersal notice on the area. Although it's only for 48 hours, it seems to have had an effect at the moment. I'm not aware of any ongoing issues. However, members met with residents on site. A number of options were discussed to try and deter the antisocial behaviour, and one of the suggestions was to provide a fence around the Haynes Way open space. Marcus has investigated, and the details of that are in the report. It's a bow top fence, which is similar to around the play areas at Nodes Way, Europe Rec, and a couple of others we've got. And it's about 1.5, I think Marcus said. So it's not big, and it can be scaled quite easily, but it is a visual deterrent. I understand members wanted it locked and secured. So as a first part, we've tried to get the cost because we're aware that we would have to go to tender. So the prices that are quoted in the report are, I wouldn't say they're the final cost. Tenders tend to bring the cost down because it becomes more competitive at tendering. So the cost quoted for the Haynes Way element with the fencing all the way around the open space, which would then butt up the green fence that's existing, a pedestrian gate, and also a vehicle access gate, which will enable us to get our mowers in and our vehicles when required. The cost suggests, again, it is an estimated cost of around 15,000. Okay, so that would require us to go to tender. On top of that, we will make inquiries with the district council. I'm not 100% sure whether district council will want full planning consent, because it is quite a small fence in terms of height. Nevertheless, we will need to present them with a drawing of some sort so they can make a judgment. And then we would have to go to tender, which initially it's not a huge cost to us. It just there is a time lag of about 2 months. Time we get the tender documents out, we get the tenders back and opened by members, then agreed by council. So really, it's just how would members like us to proceed on the Haynes Way element. Also included in the report is we've had some, as you know, we've had some ASB issues with young people entering Nodes Way after it's officially locked via Muir House. Now, we have written, when we closed Nodes Way many years ago, we wrote to all residents asking them to secure their boundaries because we were closing access to the park at that time. Now, they all complied, which was fair enough, but I think the fence at Muir House is weak. I don't think they have any intention of replacing it. So in order for us to secure it, and we've done this in other areas within Nodes Way, we've put a 2.4 tri-point palisade fence in, which is the same as the fencing that's all the way around in strategic areas to prevent unauthorised access. Marcus has had a look at that, and temporarily, to prevent any further breaches, we put some Harris fencing in there and secured that. Since the problem was identified, we've had one breach of the Harris fencing, and I think it's about 2 months now, roughly. So I suggest it's not a huge problem at the moment. Okay, so looking at the two costs, members may want to weigh up what's more important, can we afford it? And if so, instruct Marcus and I to get on with it and bring back the tender results back to members in due course.
What you're saying, Sean, is that we, before I bring Alex in, is we could wait with the Nodes Way element because at the moment there isn't a problem, and I think that sounds very sensible. Alex, did you want to say something?
Merely just to say this was a very, very important bit of work, and I would like to pay tribute to the officers for doing this and for working with the local ward councillors and residents. It is an important issue, and it is something that has historically happened over the years and been an issue with access and the impact on residents in Haynes Way. I certainly think that we need to go to tender for it, as I think it's something that the residents are very keen to see and would mitigate some issues within that area, and also reassure the residents. And the most important thing is that, however, let's go to tender and get the most competitive rates and the best proposal that we can, and then that'll come back to full council. So I welcome the suggestions and the proposals, and I echo what the chairman has said about focusing on the Haynes Way work and reviewing Nodes Way.
Is that a proposition, Alex?
It is a proposal, Chairman.
Can I have a seconder for this, please?
I'll second that.
Other councillors wish to speak.
I know, just Philip and then Alan.
Yes, I think with the time delay, I would say it's probably a good idea to wait till we have the ACSOs in post before deciding what we need to do with the Muir House Nodes Way bit, because it may well be that with some extra person power, shall I say, that we don't actually need to go to the expense of extra fencing there. I agree with the Haynes Way. I think this has been an ongoing problem, and I think the residents have made a good case for having this done. But I think I would counsel a little bit of time on the Nodes Way one and see what happens when we have our own ACSOs in post.
Alan?
Yeah, I don't know the particular bit of land, but I just wonder if we've got Harris fencing up at the moment behind someone's private fence that they're not repairing, if we do something there to make it a safe area so that no one gets in, how many more residents are going to let their fences break down so that we do similar along behind their properties?
Sean, could you answer that? I mean, 'cause we own the play area, and we are responsible for protecting it, whereas the other people's fences aren't. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, it's a good question, Alan. Previously, before we put the player into its current state, residents were allowed access through their back gates via a licence. Okay, so we terminated the licences and instructed them to do their boundaries. All residents did comply at the time. Muir House has been slightly challenging, and they've shown no inclination at the present time. So the Harris fencing was put there because the young people were breaching at the time. And I think that may have been frustration because of COVID. They wanted things to do, because Haynes Way they were being chased out of. So my suggestion to members would be, let's just see how it pans out. You know, we've got the issues on the table. You're going to have AXOs at some point. We just hold off on that one for a minute.
Yeah, as I say, if we've got Harris fencing there at the moment, and it is unsightly fencing, if that Muir House doesn't like it being there, eventually they're going to surely replace their fence. So that we haven't got to go to the expense of the other palisade fencing going in. But as you rightly say, and as previously been said by Malcolm, let's wait till the ACSOs are in place and see what they can do to stop any aggravation up there.
All right, Stephanie, want to have a final word before we go to sort of vote on this?
It's more of a question, really. I mean, obviously, I can see, you know, that you're going to fence off the green area at Haynes Way. How is that going to work? Is it locked, and is it so if someone goes through the gate into the area inside the fencing that's going to be illegal, or the trespassing, or is it? I can't quite get my head around what the fencing around all the green area is going to do, because obviously you could jump it if you were fit. Yeah, I just want to ask that question, really. Quite interested to know what the idea is. I mean, I've walked around, looked at the back of Muir House and the fencing and all the, like you said, some people have fenced, some people haven't. I agree with Alan. I'd also like to say about the bins over in those way, they're very well used, and thanks to the parish council for keeping those, you know, so the kids actually, you notice them all the time putting their rubbish in the bin, not strewing it everywhere. And I just want to ask, you know, about this business of fencing off the Haynes Way green area. How does that actually work?
Well, I'll answer that, and then Sean or Tracy can jump in. The plan is that there will be a gate on that, and the gate will be locked when the security guard locks the gate at Haynes Way. We can, by the fact that we have put a barrier in, makes it much easier for the police and to address anybody going in there, because we'll have a sign saying this is going to be locked from one time to another. Also, we trawl through our list of bylaws, or we can apply for a bylaw if we so wish to strengthen that protection. But a barrier in itself, they don't automatically jump over. It does tend to put people off. Do you want to add anything to that, Sean or Tracy?
No, I think you've both summed it up there, Malcolm. I will say, yeah, the fence is jumpable, is scalable, but you know there is a barrier there, and it just depends what members would like to do with to address the problem for the residents.
And I don't think the residents want the higher 8-foot fencing around it, which make it look a bit like Starlight Luft Free, probably.
Definitely not. No, it's just like when I've been over there,
that's the answer.
The young people are over there picnicking on the bit of grass outside Haynes Way, you know, looking like they're studying or whatever. And just wanted to know what the difference is going to be. Are they still going to be allowed to go and sit on this grass?
It's only during certain times, which in the evening when we lock the other one, that there will be when antisocial behaviour happens. You would want to be there. Tracy, do you want to add anything, or are you quite happy with that?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay, so we've had a proposition by Alex and seconded by Melody to go to tender for the Haynes Way element of this, and to leave the Nodes Way for the moment, review it in a few months' time, or a bit longer when the ACSOs have gone up and that. So I'm going to have a vote on this. So that is a proposition. You either say for or against, really. I think that's the appropriate form of words, isn't it? Sean, do you want to say something before we do that?
Sorry, Michael, on the bottom of the report, there's 5 recommendations. It would be clearer for officers if we could address. I can read them out, or you can read them out. Sorry.
My apologies, actually. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Okay, we got five recommendations. Right, I'll do it. Recommendation 1, plans for the suggested new boat-up fencing gate that will enclose the space at Haynes Way are commissioned submitted to the local planning authority. Right, shall we look at these en bloc? Plans for suggested additional palisade fencing to Nodes Way are commissioned and submitted to the... No, we can't, can we? Right, number 1, the plans for the suggested new boat-up fencing and gates that will enclose open way are commissioned submitted to local planning authority. Can I have a for or against, everybody? Melody?
For.
Philip?
For.
Alan?
That's to get prices for.
Yeah. Simon?
For.
Stephanie?
For.
Sandra?
For.
Alex?
For.
Mark?
Very much for, Mr. Chairman.
Sean?
For.
Matthew?
I will vote with this council and vote for, Chairman.
Thank you. Good. Right. Now, the second one, plans for the suggested palisade fencing to be erected in Nodes Way Commission submit to local planning authority. Before we vote on that, Sean, what we're looking to do is actually not do this now, aren't we?
That's right, yeah. So you just say you don't want to proceed with this recommendation, really.
So shall we just say vote on this against at the moment, or shall I just say we don't proceed? What is appropriate, Tracy, for this?
Well, you don't have to put that recommendation forward, so just go to the next one.
We won't do that one. Recommendation 5.3, that the council enters a tendering process for the required fencing and clearance work at Haynes Way. Right, and we're not going to do 5.4 because we're not doing 5.2, and we'll do these 2 en bloc. That the results of the planning application and tendering processes are presented to the council. So I'm asking you to vote on 5.3 and 5.5. 5.4 has been negated, okay? So 4 from me, by the way. Melody?
4.
Philip?
4.
Alan?
4.
Simon?
4.
Stephanie?
4.
Mark?
4.
Alex?
4.
Standra?
4.
Sean?
4.
Matt?
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. Right, that's done. Well done, members. We'll move on now to item 13, which is the Jones Lane Skate Park. Who's going to introduce this report?
I'll be very briefly, Chairman. The report is pretty straightforward. In effect, members are aware that the community would like a new skate park in Jones Lane. Matthew is part of a group called Waterside Skate and Ride that are hopefully going to push the project on. To enable them to do that, they need the lease that the council holds presently subbed to them. We are allowed to do that. I'll just need to have a check with Hampshire County Council, a formal check. I've spoken to the officer involved and it will be okay. So members, the report gives the outline of previous history, what we'd like to do, if you'd like that. And on the bottom of the report are the 9 recommendations. I do apologise for these. These are done with the intention of A, supporting Waterside Skate and Ride, and B, to protect the council going forward. They're not onerous, and the partnership arrangement should enable it to run smooth. Nevertheless, I would like those safeguards put in place for both parties.
Okay, right, members, the floor is yours. Who wants to talk on this? Anybody?
Yeah, get them there. Get them there.
Alex.
Oh,
and
God.
then Alan. Then probably Philip.
Just very briefly, Chairman, I think this is a positive step in this project. I feel that this is going to be a a long project and funding will be challenging, there's no doubt, but hopefully the Waterside Skate Park, with support from wider councillors and the committee, can work together to try and find aspects of funding in one of the most challenging times for fundraising any project, to try and get this one going. It won't be a short term, but it is something that the public welcomed there previously and would like there again, and the only reason it's not there currently is for justifiable health and safety reasons. And I think this is a step in the right direction about making sure that everything is done in the right manner, and that the council and the committee and everyone is protected correctly. So I welcome this report, and when it comes to the vote, I'll be voting support on block.
Thank you. Matthew, sorry, I think you were before Alex.
No, that's absolutely fine. It's nice to have someone talk before me, obviously being vice chairman of the group and whatever. I'd just like to thank the council really for letting us and enabling us to have this vote today. It's a real positive towards young people, and it shows that we are working hard for the community and for our young people, as well as everyone else in the community. I would like to ask you all to support this decision. Obviously, I understand if you don't. But yeah, again, just a thank you from me and the team at Waterside Skate and Ride.
Alan, and then Philip.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I would just like to, well, Alex has virtually taken the words out of my mouth. I support this wholeheartedly, and I certainly support Matty in what he's doing. His enthusiasm will drive this forward, and we will get a positive outcome, whether it be 2 years, 3 years. His enthusiasm will drive it forward, that we'll get the right result.
Philip?
Yes, I'd like to support the recommendation. I went through this in some detail with Sean. It's based on a previous agreement with the previous skate park. So even though it looks quite complicated, I think it makes a lot of sense. So I fully support the recommendations.
Okay, before we vote on it, I just want to use Chairman's prerogative and just extend this discussion a little bit. Currently, the skate park's locked, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it possible to open it so young people can use the Wi-Fi and sit in the shelter, or is there a problem in doing that in the interim?
I'm not aware that the Wi-Fi is, if it's working or not. Maybe Matthew could give me a pointer on that. But yeah, there's no reason it can't be opened up again.
The reason this issue was raised by a member of the Handy Trust, that, you know, if young people want to gather somewhere that's relatively safe, that's a good place for them to go, that's all.
Yeah, Chairman, if I may quickly, I'm not aware of the Wi-Fi working, if I'm honest with you.
Are we still paying for that then?
No, we only paid year one.
That might be why it's not working.
Are we able to look into maybe subsidising some funds into another year term? Or I mean, I might be speaking out the blue here, but
we can look at that, can't we, members?
So, yeah, okay.
Okay. All right then. Right. Well, let's move to this recommendation. There are 9 recommendations. I fully support, as the chairman of the council, that the officers work on this. It's to move this forward and protect the skate and ride organisation and the council and the people that use it. So it has my wholehearted support. Do you want me to go through each one, or can I? I've had a proposition from Alex to support them on block. Could I have a seconder?
Seconded, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Right, well, we'll vote on this for or against, which it is. Start from the top. For myself, it's 4. Melody?
4.
Philip?
4.
Alan?
4.
Simon?
4.
Stephanie?
4.
Sandra?
4.
Alex?
4. By the very quick question, do we have to acknowledge that the member of the skate and ride is a member of the parish council in some form of wide declaration of interest at all?
He's done that at the beginning.
No, but do we as councillors have to do it? I was just wondered if historically I don't believe we have.
Tracy, is that the case?
So can you explain the scenario then? So you're actually Why would you?
We're supporting this decision, but obviously a member of Waterside Skate and Ride is a colleague and friend of ours from the parish council. So I wonder if fellow councillors.
Is it a financial implication to them, to you?
No, as I say, it's just one of our colleagues is working on a committee, like there are many outside bodies. But I just wanted to clarify the position.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that's an interest. I don't think so.
Thank you. I just wanted clarification on that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it's good, because if we did that on everything that's working, nothing would be voted on, because you guys do so much. Right, Mark.
4, Mr. Chairman.
And Sean.
4, Mr. Chairman.
Because Matt's already not voted on this. Okay, well, that is passed. Well done. We now
Thank
go
you very
to
much, members. Appreciate it.
Good. Item 14, to appoint representatives to serve on the following outside bodies: Hythe Dibden Twinning Association and Waterside Heritage. Is that one person on each, Tracy, Sean?
Yes.
Right, who wants to be on the Twinning Association?
I'm quite happy to be on that, Chairman. But
Excellent.
I'm happy for someone else too, if they'd rather.
Philip is happy to continue the Entente Cordiale. Is anyone else interested in doing that?
I would like to propose Philip, Chairman, if that's okay.
Okay, well, I don't think we need to vote that. No one else wants to do it. I'll second that. Well, Philip is the Twinning Association. Now, Waterside Heritage.
If no one else wants to, I would like to.
Can I ask what's involved, how often they meet?
I don't know. Do we know how often they meet? Is it once every quarter?
I think it would be a quarter. There's a meeting coming up, isn't there? We needed to remind the new appointee, but we can do that by email. But I don't know how often they meet, no.
I don't think it's very often.
How many do they want? 1 or 2?
Is it one, Sean?
Yes, please. It's to replace Councillor Marshland.
Okay, I'll second Matt's offer then.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne.
Anyone else want to do this? If not, Matt is so proposed.
You'll get a lot out of it, Matt. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's all about history. Okay, right, good. Now we go to item 15, the Great British Spring Clean, pages 59 and 60. Would anybody like to talk about this? No, I actually asked to have it put on the agenda, to be fair. Every year we have a spring clean where we work with the district council and go and pick up litter and so forth. And obviously it didn't happen this time. Well, it says here in the report that they're considering decision reached to participate. A decision has been reached not to participate in this year in order to reduce the risk of COVID infection at Svibler and help ensure staff and members of the public stay safe. They are, however, tackling littering issues with other initiatives in the district and have launched a high-profile targeted billboard campaign. And they're also addressing littering issues. Practical measures increase litter picking and bin emptying by our street scene team have also been put in place. Do you wish to comment on this, anybody? Is that Alex? You said you want to comment?
Yeah.
Far away.
Yes, as I say, it's very disappointing that that both this and the repeated event have had to be cancelled for perfectly understandable reasons. And I actually completely understand the NFDC taking this decision. I think that the NFDC have actually done very well in recent weeks on the social media campaign addressing litter in public open spaces and coastal areas. One thing we could do is that we can help promote on social media and on our website, obviously, the various campaigns that the Park Authority and the New Forest District Council are running to encourage local residents and smaller groups to pick up the limited equipment that they are allowed to from the areas that are mentioned to do some litter picking. We can contact the Waterside Wombles and the New Forest litter pickers and put links again to them on our website and on our social media to local groups who do look after the community when it comes to litter picking and do a very good job, particularly even during the recent lockdown times. And then over the next few months, we can, as lockdown reduces, we can look as councillors about ways of having our own event within the parish and work with schools when they're open, when it's safe to do so, to have another litter campaign, because it doesn't hurt to have one focused on the parish, because one bit of litter on the grounds is one bit too many.
Okay. Anybody else want to talk on this? I've got no other RTSs. Litter is an issue. Pardon?
I'd RTS you about them.
Oh, you're Alan. Sorry, it didn't come up on the screen this time. Okay, Alan, far away.
I agree with what Alex is saying. The other thing with it is that we take recognition of all the people doing it, so that it becomes on one of our awards for when we are able to do it.
Good idea. Okay, Alex, do you want to speak again on this? Do you want to make a proposition of some description?
I suppose there's nothing official that the council can do, obviously, but I do propose that we put links and information about local litter picking groups on our website and on our Facebook page, and maybe contact them to ask them for any guidance that they can provide us in the short term, and then and as the year progresses, we review options about how we can address litter from a parish basis moving forward, and see what ideas councillors have, because there isn't anything we can do really effectively until lockdown reduces and we can put things in place. And to be fair, NFDC officers have been prioritising so much else, and I can completely respect their decision. But those are little things we can do and promote stuff and help get the message out to the community, and maybe communicate with those two groups and ask them for any guidance that they have. Thank you.
Tracy, Sean, do you want to add anything to add to what Alex has suggested?
No.
Sean?
No, it sounds fine.
Right, so if we put the information on the website for the litter picking groups and engage with them, is there anything that we could do to support them in those things? I like the idea of awarding something to this. We did it once before and we should do it again. But I think the COVID-19 situation, which stopped us all participating in litter picking, will make a big difference going forward until what we can do. But we can see that, show our positive support for what they do, and if there is anything that we can do or look at as a parish when the pandemic is not so great, we'll look at it, we'll review it later in the year. I think, is that everybody happy with that? Yeah. Okay. Now we move on to the item next, which is Clayfields. Over to you, Sean.
Well, members, this is me briefly again, where Marcus has been dealing with it, and also Councillor Dowd is aware of both options, basically, and very briefly, and maybe Philip could provide some input when I've finished. This item split into two. One is about the grass cutting at the top of Clayfields, which is the area beyond the football pitches as you stand in the car park. Many years ago, staff and the council took on board the concerns raised by staff when they were cutting their area. It was so uncomfortable. It was like trying to mow the moon. There's that many craters in it. And also it had a massive toll on our equipment trying to maintain the grass. So members took a very wise decision, was to stop cutting it and cut a footpath around the perimeter of the field so members of the public could access it. That went on, and the remainder of the area was hay-made every June, and the council received a small stipend. Grass cutting has ceased because there were concerns raised about returning it to wild and things like that. Current status is the grass up there is mainly wild, and the football club maintain a footpath around the perimeter of the field. It enables the public to walk around the field to exercise their dogs, and also provides a fantastic view of the docks when you're looking across the field. Philip, do you want to add any more on that, please? I'm conscious of the time.
Really only to say that the requests have either been that the grass is cut more often, and I think you've already explained why it's not done more often, or that the area is wilded so that it's got wildflower, like a wildflower meadow. But I think both options would include the path around the edge as before, would they not, Sean?
Yes, they would, Philip.
Yeah. So really, it's a case of just exploring both those options. Is it practical to have it cut more often than it is at the moment? Because that's one of the criticisms. Or should we respond to some of the requests that we have it as a wildflower meadow, in which case it should be cut at only certain times to promote the wildflowers?
Okay, what's your view, members? Over to you. This is a Melody.
I think it would be prudent to leave it as a flower meadow rather than risk damaging the mowing equipment. It makes sense to leave it to look pretty.
Okay, Matthew, and then Sean and Alex.
Yeah, I'm with Melody on that one. I think we should leave it as a wildflower meadow. I've had a few emails beforehand from local residents asking if we can have more wildflower meadows. So I think, rather than damaging our equipment, I think we should leave it alone.
Okay, Sean, then Alex, then Simon.
As a wildflower meadow, it's not just a case of letting it go wild. It does take quite a bit of maintenance. I think we have had some input from Marcus before about there is a cost to actually do this properly, and maybe we need to look at that before we just say let it go as a wildflower meadow. If we're going to do it, we need to do it right.
Okay, Alex, you're next.
Sandra does want to speak, by the way. She's RTS'd me by accident, but she does want to speak, so let her speak first.
Okay, Sandra then.
Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button. And sorry, Alex, I've obviously pressed the wrong button when I did the RTS. Yeah, I like the idea of the wildflower meadow. I take Sean's point about it. It's not just a matter of just letting it go. But you did mention that there would still be some cutting required, but at special times. But you've still got the issue with the equipment. But then you mentioned about haymaking, and does that use different equipment to do haymaking? Because I mean, we've got a so-called garden in France, and it's a nightmare because that's all over the place, and I can appreciate the problems with equipment. So would the wildflower meadow need special equipment? I think that's what I'm asking.
Okay, item 2.4 of the report there sets out what Marcus is asking for. Basically, we're going to need a contractor in there, and the cost for that is approximately £900. And then Marcus is saying that if you'd like to plant it with trees as well, then he would like to see the tree budget increase by £1,000 a year. But that, I think at this point, we're trying to establish the principle, and then the budget discussions could cover the expenditure later. It sounds like members would quite like the wildflower option. So 2.4 covers what that entails. And the budget discussions could come on the back of that, if members prefer.
Right, Alex, Simon, then Stephanie.
No, I'm happy not to. No.
Oh,
Simon?
Actually, Chairman, I can see something's going wrong with the RTSs. So Philip's RTSing privately to somebody, and I was as well. So something's gone wrong. So Sandra, I think, was RTSing to somebody else. So Philip wanted to speak and Simon wanted to speak.
Okay, well, Simon, Philip, and yourself. Simon next then.
Well, I agree with Sean in that we should let it go to a wild meadow, but at the same time we should look at the costs, etc., because it isn't just a case of leaving it to go wild. But if it's just a principle that we're talking about here, then I think the wildflower meadow is the way to go forward, and then review the costs as the time comes.
Right, Philip's next, and then Steph.
Yes, mine's a question really to Sean. If we take the decision to put the funding in to make it into a wildflower meadow, would that then make it, would the farmers still want to use that for haymaking? And so would we lose the revenue from that if he doesn't?
Yeah, no, we wouldn't be haymaking, Philip, but it was a stipend before. Because of the poor quality of the grass, the income has dropped significantly. And in the last year, which wasn't this year, the year before, it was £50 was the income.
All right. So it's kind of negligible.
It's minimal.
Right. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Who was next? Stephanie?
Oh, just to say I support the wildflower idea as Sean.
Still, that's really expensive.
As Sean Cullen said, we do need advice on it to do it properly so it succeeds, and to work with the farming as well. The one thing I wanted to say was about the skate park. Is we were supposed to be putting a sign up just to tell people about it. I just think that's something we've forgotten again.
Okay, right, that was the last item. Is that everybody there? Can I have a presentation for that? Presentation. Sorry, proposition, my apologies, sorry.
I propose that we get it, costings and etc. for turning it into a wild meadow.
But haven't we got that, Sean, already?
Yeah, Marcus suggested it's initial £900, and then he would like to see the budget increase to plant trees and furnish that properly. Okay. But I think if we establish the principle at this meeting, Malcolm, budget discussions around the corner, if it's more than this, we can come and inform members and ask them to consider it any more cost again.
Okay, yeah, so it's a principle. Are we happy to do the principle, members?
Agreed.
Agreed? Everybody is agreed on that one? This isn't a cost thing, we won't do the for and against, but everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Pardon? So we're agreeing on the principle, okay. Right, the next item in the agenda is tree work. That's you again, Sean, isn't it?
No, sorry, Malcolm, we should be on 16B, which is about...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
Okay. Again, I'll keep it brief. Marcus has provided a report. It's on page 67. Okay. I'm trying to think of the easiest way to explain this. Again, Philip has been heavily involved with this. But what's happened since COVID, there's not been so much use of Clayfields. There's not been football, and the post office has not been open. As a result, and Stephanie's aware, in car parks, there's been a lot of antisocial behaviour taking place in car parks. Clayfield suffered with that quite badly in terms of fly tipping, late night noise, cars doing what young people in cars do late at night. So the football club installed a gate. So what that did, that restricted vehicle access to the car park. This was Dave Cox, by the way, being his helpful self. The gate's locked, and there is a combination lock on there. Obviously, we have it. The combination has been supplied to the Dibden Allotments Fund, because the allotment tenants go in there. And anyone who wants it really and is using it for legitimate purposes will be supplied with a code. As a council, we were unsure of what legitimate use that car park received, because it's tailed off significantly since the lease went to Clayfields, and the post office has about 30 people a week, I understand. So the gate's in place. To date, we've had one, as far as I'm aware, one concern which was raised with Philip. Gentleman quite legitimately can use the car park, and turned up and couldn't get in because he didn't have access to the gate. I understand that Philip has now supplied the combination to the gentleman, and we've not received any more as a council. So the crux of this item is, members, a gate's been installed to deter ASB vandalism. We've received one complaint that I'm aware of from the general public, that the gate is locked and they couldn't access it with their vehicle. So what we're asking for is, let's let the trial continue, because the ASB and vandalism has ceased. So try another 6 months. We're quite happy to consult with the wider public via our usual streams of consultation to see what legitimate use is there. So on the recommendations on the back of the report, Marcus is just asking, there's again, there's 6 recommendations. He likes his recommendations. Have you been through them, members, on the report, or do you want Malcolm to go through them?
Say so now.
I have an RTS, Chairman.
Oh yeah, Alex, go on. Well,
Purely, I would just like to thank Marcus for his excellent report on this again, and actually welcome the collaborative work with Clayfields. Obviously, this has been a relationship that we've had for several years now, and it's developed and improved. And I actually, from reading the report and recommendations, they actually seem to make, to me, a lot of common sense, considering the situation presented. I like the idea of a trial period, so we're not committing ourselves to something long term. And I am very keen that particularly we make that formal letter written to the football clubs under their liability on this should the gate not be secured. And I welcome the request for the random checks. So all 6 recommendations, I know Marcus likes them, but they're good recommendations in my point for an important issue. And I thank the officers and Council Down for the work done so far, and indeed Hythe Dibden Football Club. So I will propose, and ahead of the discussion, that I will support all 6 recommendations on block.
okay, I've got 2 RTSs, and we'll need a seconder for that proposal, but we'll go to the next one. Stephanie, then Philip.
Yeah, I would just like to say that Clayfields is a great place to go to use their recycling bins and park, and for the post office. And it's another thing I'd like to see promoted. I don't know if the post office is an income to the council or to the actual football club. I don't know how that works. But yeah, I think it's something that is really good for up that area of our parish.
Okay, Philip.
Yes, I think it was just a bit of a shame that residents in the area or people who use it weren't aware of the change before it happened. I think because we've only had the one complaint, I think that's that's kind of settled down now, because he's now satisfied having the code. So I agree with Alex, and I support the recommendations.
Okay, I've got a note from Mark, who's happy to second the motions en bloc. Is that correct, Mark?
Oh,
Mark?
yeah, certainly, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Let's have a quick vote on this one then. The recommendations which you've all seen. Alex has proposed we support them en bloc. Right, 4 against. Melody?
For support.
Philip?
4.
Alan?
4.
Simon?
4.
Mark?
4.
Sandra?
4.
Sean?
4, Mr. Chairman.
Alex?
4, Chairman.
Matthew?
4, Chairman.
Stephanie?
4.
And myself 4, so it's unanimous. You'd be interested to know that you keep moving around the screen, so I have to ask you in a different order. Bit of useless trivia that was. Okay, now my apologies for trying to end this meeting too quickly. We're now on to the tree, the tree work in the allotments.
Yeah, very in-depth topic, and Marcus has been involved with it. Basically, and in summary, a telecommunications company has a mast in the car sales place just off Southampton Road, adjacent to Jones Lane. They've requested that they cut an oak tree that's located in School Road Allotments down to a height of 12 metres. There's some very good diagrams in the report which show you what the tree looks like now, and then we'll show you an estimation of what the tree will look like after. Well, it shows a line where the pruning will come down to. The district council officer is aware that a number of local authorities across the county, because he's part of this forum and this group, have had the same approach. The professional tree officers are minded to not agree really, but they're aware that they could be taken to court. So unless you've read the report, I don't want to go into it too much, but I think my recommendation recommendation to council would be is we work hand in hand with the district council or biocultural team. Our policies are identical. This proposal is against both ours and district council's proposal. So I suggest members, because they are the professionals, that we take a similar line to that NFDC takes with approaches to trees on their land.
Okay, members, you've had a recommendation from our officers on what we should do. What is your view? Who wants to speak? I've got Alex, Alan, and then Mark. Alex, his picture's frozen.
There we go. So yes, thank you again very much for the detailed report. I'm really very concerned by this, and I'll put it bluntly, I'm not going to support the request to reduce this tree down to 12 metres, because it is a significant oak tree in the centre of the village, and this has not come to us because of the impact of safety or of nearby businesses or residents. It's come to benefit an external commodity, and our community might be full of houses and homes, but when you just look up, it's surrounded by these beautiful trees, and these oak trees are significant. And if we cut this to 12 metres, we won't be able to get it back. There is no guarantee that there'll be ongoing financial support to manage this tree to 12 metres, as been noted in the report. And I don't want to set a dangerous precedent for the wildlife in our community. And I think that Sean's comments and his suggestions and the excellent report presented clearly show that for the best thing for this community would be to say no to this request and maintain the tree as is.
Okay, I've got Alan, Mark, Philip and Melody. So Alan's next.
Thank you, Chairman. This obviously is for the phone company to get a better signal. So would it not be possible for them to just raise the height of their mast, Chairman?
Sorry, I was just reading. I was just taking something. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah,
fuzzy.
it's obviously for the phone company to get a better signal,
Yeah.
but would it not be, from our point of view, for them to raise the height of their mast?
That seems a very sensible solution, really. Yeah.
Sean had a word on that.
I've got a range of speakers on this one.
Sorry, Malcolm.
It's all right. Did you want to intercede there?
Oh yeah, the views of the district officer, and he's saying that's it. They're perfectly entitled to come back and apply for planning consent to raise the height of their mast.
Yeah. Okay. Just on behalf of Sean has said that he's an allotment on School Lane. Should he have declared an interest? Should that have been done, Tracy? If not, he's declaring it now.
I'm not too sure that he does have to declare an interest in that. So just because it's not
pecuniary, is it?
No. It's just you're going to miss. You don't want to miss view of the tree when you're digging, I suppose. Okay, right. I'm just trying to keep this list together because it's extensive now. Mark is next, then Philip and Melody.
Very quickly, Mr. Chairman, 25 years ago, I got involved in a battle over a particular oak tree where people were willing to lay down in front of bulldozers. It produces such emotion amongst constituents and people who live locally. And a fully grown, matured oak tree also supports 280 species, or up to 280 species within the tree itself. And surprise, surprise, the tree that was going to come down in Newbury, Middle Oak, is still standing, still in the middle of a roundabout, and the developers made allowances for it, as I'm sure could take place in this case as well. So no, absolutely, my vote is not to do anything to this tree, but to allow it to flourish.
Okay, Philip.
Yes, so just a few complications. They mentioned trees, but we've only got the one that they're asking for the crown to be reduced. So I'm assuming the idea is that they will reduce not just the one tree, but other trees as well, if they're allowed to. We've also got the fact that it is a phone company, but it is also the infrastructure for an emergency service. So I would have thought for something that serious, they would have a mast that would do the job, to be honest.
Okay, Melody?
They shouldn't be allowed to touch it with a barge pole. So, no, definitely not.
Okay. I think that's everybody. We've had a proposition which agrees with the recommendation of the officers that we should follow the line of the district council, which is not to allow this to happen. Is that correct, everybody? Is that what you want to do?
Chairman.
Yeah, have we got a seconder for that, Mark? Was you seconding that? Hello?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, certainly second that.
Yeah, the old system's not working as well today as it should do. Okay, so is everybody happy that we follow the advice of the officers and support the district council in not allowing this to happen? They can build a taller mast if they want to. I'm sure they have the technology. And we should protect oak trees where we can.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a decision made. We will support the district council and not adhere to this request. Is that okay, officers?
Yeah.
Brilliant, good. Right, now we're nearing the end of a long meeting. Well done, everybody. It's item 18, finance, and I would like to draw your attention to we have to look at all of them, but in particular to A, which is the cost of COVID-19 to the council. I've asked this to be a regular event on every meeting, just so that we know what it costs the parish council. It's on page 101. It isn't hugely significant, but should any member of the community want to know, the information is there, and we'll be updating the running total every month. At the moment, it's a loss of revenue of £5,976, a loss of rental income for £3,000 from the market, and we've had some extra expenditure of £3,539 on products, and we've got overtime and PPE £257 a week, okay, for cleaning the play areas. But some of that particular element will probably reduce when the team can do the cleaning in normal time. Right, has anybody got any comments on the finance data in general or the COVID one in particular? Okay. Are you happy?
Can I ask, Mr. Chairman, just simply, was there any avenue for recouping any of the losses through any grant aid from government over this particular period, or is that closed off to any parish councils? For example, the district council has received some, though a relatively small portion. I just wonder whether parish councils were eligible particularly.
They haven't been eligible in the past, but we've just been at Swindon. We've just been notified that discretionary grant funding is now being passed down to parish councils. We haven't had anything more from the district yet. Stratton comes under a unitary authority, but I know that money is just beginning to filter down. So it's something that I will speak with Beverly about on which I set up.
Again, Mr. Chair, I just wonder whether, we could make some inquiries at least to see whether those forms of funding to perhaps make up that shortfall in some degree. We're not likely to get it all, but if there was some element that we could claim back, we don't want to miss it before it gets cut off,
Yeah, I totally agree. Government funding, if we can get it, we should go and get it. And I'm sure that Tracy and Sean will be on the case if that comes up.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Right. You've got the finance information in front of you. Any comments, members in general, on that, or are you happy to accept it as it is?
As proposed.
Right. Okay. It's to receive the bank reconciliation, to receive the accounts of payment. This is purely for noting, isn't it, Tracy?
Yes, it is, but I don't know what it says in your financial regulations, but at some time somebody should be signing off the bank reconciliation from the council. They should just be double checking it and then it should be signed. Okay. I would say probably by the chairman, as you don't have a finance committee.
Do I need to come in and do that sometime?
Yeah.
Can we set that up outside the meeting and I'll come in and do that?
What we do, we attach this the bank reconciliation that's contained in the agenda goes in with the minutes normally when the chairman's there to sign it, so they get signed as part of the minutes at the meeting, Tracy.
Okay.
Yeah, but I need to come in and sign some, don't I, Sean? Really?
At some point, yes, Malcolm.
Yeah. Right, we'll set that up outside the meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, do that. Okay, members, if you're happy with the finance, you got thumbs up for that. Okay. I can draw this very long meeting to a close. Can I thank you all for your attending and your diligence. Apologies for any errors that I've had with equipment and missing the letter, but I found it in the end. Thank you very much, and officers, for your attention as well. It's been a long meeting. Thank you very much, and thank any members of the public who want to watch this. And good night, everybody.
Good night, Chairman. Good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Night. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Take care. God bless.